Please rise if you wish for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, this evening we seek wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as we consider how to fund our city services in the coming year. We are grateful to have prudent and careful budget planning by our staff and dedicated leadership in responsible fiscal management by our city manager. We also seek to maintain thoughtful and respectful discussions as we plan to meet our responsibilities to our residents and businesses. In recent national events, we have seen the importance of civil discourse in the political realm. Help us to embrace these lessons. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is the special City Council meeting for July 17th, 2024. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. Are there any deletions or amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, we will begin with the public hearing. Agenda item number 1. The staff is requesting the City Council approve the second reading of ordinance number 11, 2024, adopting the 2024 City of DeBary Land Development Code. City Attorney, would you read ordinance number 11, 2024?
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance number 11-2024, an ordinance of the City of DeBary, Florida, adopting the 2024 Land Development Code for the City of DeBary, Florida, and amending the official zoning map of the City of DeBary, Florida to implement new overlay districts and the 2024 Land Development Code, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date, and codification.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stephen Babb, Growth Management Director. I will be giving you the presentation for the second reading of the Land Development Code adoption. As we've discussed this many times, this is a total rewrite of our existing Land Development Code, which came into being in February of 1999, with, in the course of time, maybe 2 minor updates had occurred. In April 2020, the city had began the process of drafting a new LDC, and in the course of this, we initiated a 9-month growth moratorium and held 6 City Council workshops from November 2023 until June 2024 to go over in detail the Land Development Code. Also, we conducted the first reading of this ordinance on the last session on July 3rd, 2024. Overall, the Land Development Code is a rewrite which involved a thorough reorganization of the existing chapters to create a more modern, user-friendly code. Updates were made to each chapter, as well as reorganization of the structure of the code. And we also implemented form-based codes, regulations for our core of our city. And also, we updated regulatory references at both the state and federal level into our code. There are 11 chapters I'll go over briefly. For general knowledge. Chapter 1 will be our general provisions, the starting block of all things for the code. Not much cleanup here, but pretty much removal of some redundant or repetitive sessions. Chapter 2, which is really the heart or the real beginning of the code, were implemented. They were consolidated from 5 or 6 different chapters we had and put into one. It is a standalone definition chapter, which is very important to have. We've updated the definitions with current federal regulations, Florida statutes, and other references, as well as taking definitions for best practices from other jurisdictions throughout the country. Chapter 3 will outline how we're going to do business. It's very important to any new development coming in to follow these procedures. Chapter 4, which is the zoning portion. We took many pages of zoning and consolidated that zoning and uses into user-friendly tables. I think that's really the most significant change of the zoning chapters. Chapter 5 is where we introduced our form-based code for our corridor portions of our city, update our overlay district map to identify overlays, corridors, and nodes which are tied into tables in the chapter. Chapter 6 was the accessory chapter, which have accessory, temporary, and special uses, including things such as consolidating how we do our accessory dwelling units and updating home-based business requirements to be consistent with Florida statutes and federal regulatory guidance. Chapter 7, which is our circulation and parking design. A lot of work from our engineering department on this one, based on lessons we learned incorporating a former code and also current best practices in the engineering world. Landscaping was our Chapter 8, doing a lot of consolidation and streamlining of our landscaping ordinances, as well as being consistent with the University of Florida's guidance for maintenance and upkeep of such landscaping. Chapter 9 would be our environmental protections. A lot of work from our engineering department also on this. Chapter 9 is how we are going to build new subdivisions and have site designs for said subdivisions. And a lot of additional things such as low-impact development standards and resiliency measures for our stormwater management systems. Chapter 11, the final chapter, would be the sign chapter. Updated, really consolidated from multiple chapters, scrubbed to make sure we follow the neutral-based guidance from the Supreme Court ruling of Reed versus the Town of Gilbert. And reviewing all this with 6 work sessions and multiple years of rewriting, we found that this is very consistent with all regulatory guidance we have, our comprehensive plan. Thus, staff recommends the City Council adopt Ordinance 11-2024 for a new land development code. If adopted tonight, the land development code will immediately go into effect. We'll have measures on our website that has the entire code available for anybody that wants to view it until it becomes totally codified with the Municode system online. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, any questions or comments?
Just want to take time to thank staff again for all their hard work. Tomorrow, the gold rush begins. I think our force field will be tested, and we'll see if everything we've done in the last 5-6 months pays off. I'm really interested to see how it all goes tomorrow. So I wish you all luck, and thank you again.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Similarly, excellent work. I'm very pleased with what we brought forth. Thank you for everything, everybody, that you've done.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Similar sentiments, appreciation for all the work and detail you've gone through, and no further questions. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
I like it. I think it's so much cleaner to what we had, and I appreciate the efforts that went into keeping everything in line and in order. I think it's great. The accolades are for all you guys for all your hard work, and God bless you in the future, because who knows? It'll be fine. Everyone will love it. It's in black and white. They can't complain about it.
And I, too, want to say thank you for your hard work. I think that actually all of us can take pride in finally bringing this across the finish line should the vote be positive. I'm guessing it might be from the comments. And, you know, it's been a long time coming, and it took a lot of work on a lot of people's part. And I think I'm very proud that we have a code that embraces some of the latest thinking and does begin to move our development patterns in a more sustainable direction in certain sections, which I greatly appreciate. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Ordinance 11-2024, the proposed 2024 Land Development Code.
Second?
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. The next item is under new business, agenda item number 2. The city manager is requesting City Council adopt Resolution Number 2024-05 to set the proposed ad valorem millage rate of 3.5 for the fiscal year 2024 to 2025, and to set a date, time, and place of the tentative budget hearing on the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget for September 4, 2024, at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall. City Council may set the proposed millage rate higher than the city manager's recommendation or lower. I'm adding that. City manager? No, we need to read the resolution first. City Attorney, would you read Resolution 2024-05?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution number 2024-05, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting a proposed millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2024 through 2025 on all taxable property located within the City of DeBary, Florida, setting a tentative budget hearing date, time, and place, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. City Manager, I assume you're presenting?
Yes, Mayor, thank you very much. And we have Liz Bauer, our finance director there. She's done yeoman's work on trying to put all this stuff together because we have a lot going on. We have some major projects going on that is unprecedented in the city of DeBary, and want to walk everybody through it. And I think you're going to see this one of the most dynamic budgets we've ever done, seriously. Just for process sake, and just to let everybody know that the 3.5%, 3.5 mils is a 26.15% increase over the rollback of 2.7744. The process is basically the proposed budget. I presented that pursuant to the city charter on or before July 15th. The proposed millage rate, once set, you cannot go higher. Once you set this particular rate, if you set it at 3.5, you can't go later on in the budget season to 3.6 or 3.7. We planning on a council meeting budget workshop as we be working individually through this particular time. Either we'll do a workshop depending on the number of items that we're talking about. We'll either do a workshop prior to August 21st meeting, or we will put it as a discussion item on that agenda item, on that council meeting at 6:30 p.m. The tentative budget and millage, as I said, September 4th, those are 2024. My bad. And then the final budget and millage will be September 18th, 2024 at 6:30. This is a slide that we presented when we were making the decision on adding a second fire station. As you know, we made a very important decision to build our fire station, and with that, you have to staff it. So theoretically, we are doubling our fire services in the city of DeBary, and they're recurring. And they're going to be recurring for as long as we have that station open. Those recurring costs will exist. So the recommendation was that obviously move the millage rate to 3.5 to cover the costs of all the projects that we're doing, as well as the fire station, and then the staffing as well. And a lot of our philosophy is obviously to get a lot of our infrastructure in place before a lot of development comes in place. As you can see, the number of projects we have, we are doing a little bit different than most other traditional governments, is getting the infrastructure in place, and then before it comes in, then rather than afterwards. Most cities wait for all the commercials and stuff to come in, and then they try to upgrade the infrastructure later, and which is, as you can see, they having difficulty. You can even see with the Volusia County hearing yesterday, they're having extreme difficulty in trying to pay for improvements of roads when they're already at maxed volume, and they're trying to get them in and trying to get them done, and it's just not, it's after the fact. And so this is a business approach of getting these particular projects in, getting the infrastructure in, And then as the commercial comes in, then we can, we'll have great opportunity to trickle down the millage rate down to where it probably should be. But even if we're at 3.5 mils, you can see all the millage rates on the right side of all the ones in Volusia County. We're still 50% less than DeLand and Orange City and Deltona in our West Volusia side. But we are the lowest in Volusia County and still will be lowest in Volusia County. And we're very proud of that. Our business approach there, having only 46 employees and operating this city like a business, has proven the best method in Volusia County. So this is obviously my favorite slide, and I say it every year. But if we do move the ad valorem rate to 3.5, you can see that DeLand is 6.48, Lake Helen is 6.85, Deltona is 7.35, Orange City 7.12, Volusia County 5.27 if you add in their library and everything else, and then if you're unincorporated, you're over 10 mils. Our medium income has gone up significantly. DeBerry's medium income is $83,678. We are now the third highest in Volusia County rather than the second highest. Lake Helen has taken an enormous jump since last year for some reason. But their population's around 3,000 folks. So if they have a little higher income folks moving in, that certainly will have a major impact. But you can see there that our medium income is significantly higher in DeLand and Deltona and Orange City and Volusia County in total. So it's up 10.4% from last year. The last 5 years, our medium income is up 46%. Since we all arrived here, our medium income is up 46%. And our medium income is 14.4% higher than Deltona. Even with our stormwater keeping our rates the same, as you can see on the right-hand side there, we are it costs significantly less to live in DeBerry than it does anyplace else. We don't provide any corporate incentives to businesses. We tell them flat up, straight up, that if you move to DeBerry, you'll immediately save, in West Volusia, you'll immediately save 50% on your ad valorem taxes, not just 1 year, not just 5 years, but forever. And so that's one of the things we're extremely proud of. So this is another one of our slides that you've seen before. You know, back when we became a city, we adopted a millage rate of 2.83, and we've maintained that pretty much throughout the last 10 years. This is a 10-year reflection. We did go up to 3.5 before in fiscal year 2019-20 to specifically handle the Woodbound Valencia project. And we brought it right back down. We told the residents that we would go to 3.5 and we'd bring it right back down to 2.92, and that's we did what we said we were going to do. And then again here we're asking 3.5 again. We're increasing our fire services, building a fire station west of the railroad track, and doubling our fire services, and it's part of the cost of growth and my terminology, maturing of a city. This will I don't think we'll ever need another fire station in DeBerry. We're almost built out, and this will secure our fire services for many, many, many years to come. So a lot of folks are saying, okay, we raising the 3.5, you're requesting 3.5 millage rate. On the right-hand side is the charts. The rollback rate is 2.7744. Leaving the rate the same would generate an additional $454,000. But going to 3.5 mils increases it another $1.74 million. So why? Well, we have a great opportunity with Benson Junction. Last year, we weren't anticipating this particular grant this year, but actually next year. But they awarded us the grant for opportunity for Benson Junction. And for Benson Junction, we had to come up with $1.4 million match. Well, last year in March, this year in March, through our budget amendment, we put $1 million in our assigned reserves. And with this budget, we're adding the final $400,000 so that we can match, so that we can get this TPO grant. This is one of the largest grants the city of DeBary, other than the emergency management system. This is the largest grant that DeBary's ever received for a particular project. Obviously, last year, our construction, about 4 or 5 months ago, when we approved the fire station, we used the ARPA money to come up to budget up to $5.2 million. Our guaranteed maximum price, remember 3 or 4 months ago, went to 6.2. And so this is how you use multiple budget years to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And so there's $1 million we added to that particular fund so that we can have the $6.2 million to build that fire station. We also, obviously, the increased fire services is 1.1 million. This is a partial year. I call it a partial year. It's only for 8 months. We're planning for 8 months of salaries and benefits for all the new firefighters. And you can see the little bullet point underneath there. Next year is full rate. We would be paying full 12 months for all our salaries and benefits and services from Orange City. Even though we're adding $1.1 million this year, there'll be another $1.1 million we have to add next year. And so that's where the strain comes in. When you add these recurring services, you got to fund it. And so that's the justification for going to 3.5 mils, is that we are now providing, I think, state-of-the-art, up-to-date public safety for all our residents. The sheriff's contract is increasing by $395,000. And so many folks go, wow, that's almost 10%. But you have to remember the last 2 years was a level rate. It was at a little less than $4 million, and that stayed consistent for 2 years. And then we have some operational costs, inflation of goods and services. We do have a legal expense increase. We increased the legal services by $50,000 because of the litigation with DeBary Plantation Community Association. Then salaries and benefits and insurance. And so you can see the reasoning right up front for us to move to 3.5 mils, getting our infrastructure in place, and then as the commercial comes in, we'll reduce it. So let's talk about details. These are the 6 major projects that are going on this fiscal year. And kudos to all the staff, because it's a lot of juggling. But also, these 6 projects also provide just a little uncertainty. As you know, the construction industry right now, and even when we issued the notice to proceed for the fire station, we did that Monday. We had to add some additional. We were going to have to add some additional language in there that, as far as materials not coming in, we're still experiencing long delays with electrical equipment. Generators are taking 18 months, electrical panels 12 months, and so there's some language we're going to have to put in there for the notice to proceed. But the Florida reconstruction, yes, I'm sorry the road is closed, but that is fully funded. Again, I want to clarify that on all these particular projects, we're not borrowing one dime. These are through effective planning over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years. We have put money aside and dedicated them to these particular projects. We knew they were coming, and we've done multiple budget year savings to make sure that we could do all these. So the Florida reconstruction, that's underway. If you go down there, they're doing a bang-up job. You can see the new contours of the road and everything else. The Fort Florida Bridge is funded as well. And just to go back over the Fort Florida Bridge, we got a $1 million grant from the from the St. John's Water Management District, a partnership with FP&L to add $500,000 to that. So for a $2 million bridge, the city actually ponies up $500,000 for that $2 million bridge. The fire station, we got a $1.25 million grant from the state legislature, funded with ARPA and some creative budgeting. $6.2 million, that's fully funded. No borrowing for that either. Alexander Island, $4.375 million. We do have the match. The match is funded. It's in our budget at $1.8 million. We're waiting on the ECHO grant approval, which should come in October. If that does get approved, then we'll be starting construction on Alexander Island probably January or February, given a RFP or RFQ or even a CMAR contract bidding process shortly thereafter. So if we get that in October, 3 months for a CMAR bid, and then heading out to construction, starting the entrance of Alexander Island. Then the Benson Road reconstruction, and this is where the TPO grant of $4.3 million. We now have the $1.4 million city match. That project will be $5.7 million. So as long as we meet all the time deadlines with FDOT, right, Richard? We'll take advantage of this opportunity and totally reconstruct Benson Junction Road, which is a road that has not been improved since the 70s. And then now that we have all these projects funded, we can now take the gas tax and apply it back to road resurfacing, as we suspended that for a couple years because of some of the financing of some of these particular projects. We can go back to the road resurfacing, which we allocated for $700,000. So you can see these particular 6 major projects in maintenance. The road resurfacing is maintenance. But it does provide a little uncertainty because of, as you know, with construction, change orders and contingencies and all that kind of stuff. So there is a little bit of uncertainty here as well. So getting more detail, law enforcement contract up 10%, $4.32 million. And because of the same pricing that was for the last 2 years at $3.944 million. The fire services, in a little bit more detail, the station number 33, which is the one right here on 1792. The contract pricing we have scheduled right now is $2.22 million. But they are going through union negotiations. That adds a little uncertainty. We don't know the impact of those union negotiations, but those costs, whatever salaries and benefits and everything else that goes along with that, those will be added to our bills. So over the next 60 days, when we get to September, we'll have a more firm number of what those will be, assuming that there's no legal, no litigation on union negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. So station number 39, if folks are just listening for the first time, the station on Fort Florida Road is station number 39. And we'll be doubling the fire staff. But this year budget, we're allocating 8 months. We anticipate probably the construction being done sometime in July, August. That will require us to hire the employees by contract with Orange City in February. And February all the way through September is 8 months. And so that's what we're calculating on. That is a number that can move. If we have delays, obviously, then the salary dollars will not be spent until that 6-month period. So we do have some possible movement and uncertainty there. Our fire truck is coming soon. It's been 18 months since we ordered it, but it requires $300,000 worth of equipment and that's a one-time purchase. And then also the station furnishings, which is a one-time purchase as well. And then we are required to replace a cardiac monitor for $57,000. But again, I do want to remind you and the audience that in next year fiscal year 25-26, we will go to full rate. So our current year is $2.2 million, and then you can see out to the right there, our fiscal year 25-26 will be $4.6 million. And so that's the differential that we're going to have to cover in the coming year, this year and next year. So operationally, the human resources, our CPI this year is up 3.1%. In 2022 was 7%, 2023 was 6.5%, but the CPI is 3.1 with the inflation basically the same. But you can see the inflation was 2022 averaged 6%, and 2023 4.8%. I always tell folks all the time, these numbers here are compounded. you get 7% interest rate, inflation, or 6% inflation, and then 4% following year, it's that 4.8% is on top of the 6%. So this is a compounded. For this year, we're asking for our employees a cost of living adjustment of 4%. And just status, our directors and staff are still below Volusia County and city average. And other cities and counties are proposing 3 to 6%. And that's not counting public safety. Fire for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, public safety has gone out the roof. And you're going to see some public safeties on the east side as high as 10 or 12%. So it's going up significantly. Human resource-wise, we're requesting adding 1 part-time employee to the fire finance department. We do have an opportunity. We have a retiring employee who's been here a long time. But we do have a growing demand for grant administration. As you can see, all these grants that are coming in, when you deal with the state, federal, and TPO, there is just a tremendous amount of administrative work that they require. And so we have an opportunity where this individual wants to work part-time, doesn't want to go totally unemployed. And so we have an opportunity to maintain our experience and our proficiency by maintaining this person for part-time. And then we will hire our purchasing manager full-time from the applications that we get. So we do want to take advantage of this particular opportunity. But there is a reason why this grant, and Liz smiles all the time every time we go out for the grant. You can look at her over there. Oh my gosh, there's just more workload. And so I said, well, I got to get these projects done. So, so anyway, but the city manager budget is pretty much similar for the previous year. The general government's pretty much the same. Information technology, we do have cybersecurity expenses that are going up, and we had to advance the purchase of a server. We're running out of space, and but cybersecurity is a major issue. We have, I think it was another 3 or 4 cities hit cybersecurity and ransom. And so there's been some, we need to continue on that track. As a matter of fact, we're working on some training for everyone, including council members. I'm sorry, we will. But one of our major threats is emails and spams, and they can certainly load into your system pretty quickly when you click on the wrong email. It'll load in. And so finance obviously is similar to last year except for the one-time part-time position. Public Works, obviously we restored the road resurfacing for $700,000. And then for machinery and equipment, we're asking for the mini excavation with the rotary motor. Those are obviously for maintaining not only our public right-of-ways, but also our ditches. It does come with the backhoe type. It does come with a rotary motor so that you can mow into the ditches and clear and create capacity in ditches and retention ponds and everything else. You can also go vertical as well to clear brush for line of sight on the right-of-ways. We're asking for 2 Kubota motors. They're extremely needed. We had 3 motors go down. We cannibalized 2 of them to make sure that one continues to operate. So Kubota mowers are extremely important for our right-of-ways. They take a lot of abuse. There's 10 going back and forth. There's 10 miles of right-of-way there, and we get a lot of compliments on people go, well, when I come from Orange City or I come from Sanford, when I come to DeBary, you notice a difference. And those guys do one bang-up job on maintaining that right-of-way and maintaining our image in DeBary. Parks and Recreation, actually, our projects with Parks and Recreation has gone down. The pavilion that we're building is paid for by the CDBG grant. Bill Keller Park, our pickleball court's been needing for renovation for quite some time. We did get awarded a FERDAP grant for $200,000. We just got that notification last month, and we're going to use that grant money to match with the ECHO money. So theoretically, we're building $400,000 worth of pickleball courts for $0 DeBerry dollars. And so then the small stuff is Sullivan fence, which is about $35,000 for new. You can see when you go by Sullivan, the bottoms of the fences are curved up and those sharp edges are there. That fence has been there for years. And then the dugouts, we work with a partnership with Babe Ruth, where their sponsorship money will pay for half the dugouts, so $15,000 apiece. And so that's their contribution to improving the Sullivan Park. And then Alexander Island, obviously, we're hoping that the Volusia County awards us that $2.5 million exceptional grant in October. And then for Parks and Rec, again, equipment, these equipments are very old. They're extremely out of warranty, and these are equipment replacements. And the trailer is the same thing. They're just, they're worn out. And so, and our view is obviously we can maintain, continue to maintain these, but eventually it costs more to maintain than just to go ahead and buy them. And then also the safety factor. We always constantly worry about the safety of our employees, and they need decent equipment to do their jobs, and we want to make sure that they don't get injured on something that's barely working or not working properly. So Mayor, Council, I thought today we'll just go ahead and just do the general fund. We'll vote on it, and then we'll take all the non-ad valorems one at a time, if you don't
Right.
mind.
We'll need to read the resolution each time anyway.
Yep.
Okay.
And so our recommendation is to adopt Resolution 2405, setting the proposed millage rate at 3.5 mils, and be glad to take any of your questions.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions and comments?
Tonight, we're just setting the ceiling.
We're setting the ceiling.
No
Yes.
arguments, no
Now, we have
fights.
2 months of
Figuring it out.
to purify it or
good.
perfect it.
Councilmember Papalardo.
I have so many spreadsheets to build. I
Yes.
started one. Almost so far, greater than 2/3 of our cash flows are related to necessities. This is my current metric here between fire, law enforcement, public works, debt service, stormwater insurance, road work, and major infrastructure projects. So, these are very valid needs, and I don't think we're asking for luxuries here. So, I don't have any question. Well, I have one question. I'm thinking about employee retention and merit, and I believe we have worsened our competitiveness as far as compensation is concerned. I don't know if this is time to seek a consensus or something like that, but I would be interested in identifying the scope of making merit 5% instead of 4%. I think there are some, now I know that's not on the millage rate, but if we're talking about, I guess, is this premature?
No, you can make your comments there. Certainly, over the next couple months, we can certainly provide you the data of those. We only have 46 employees. One millage rate up or down is really not significant.
Yeah.
For us now, if we were the county that has thousands and thousands of employees, 1% is millions. Ours is 1% is about 37 or 38,000. When we look at the budget, that's what we calculate between $35,000 and $40,000 for between those percentages. And so when we do the budget, and so if that's your desire, look, I tell all of you, and I've told all of you all before, with only 46 employees, turnover is our biggest threat. And I'll tell you that now, and I'll tell you continuously. When one employee from the county leaves, it's not a big deal because they can recover. And they got lots of staff and lots of assistants and lots of all that kind of stuff. We don't. So, and competition for employees is significant. I'll tell you that. There's some cities that surround us that a lot of those very important positions are vacant. And so, yeah, you're always constantly concerned and worried about recruitment, and you're always concerned about people moving on to bigger and better things. So,
Yeah, based on those preliminary numbers that you suggested, something around the $40,000 mark, that's less than 0.1% of our general fund. So I think that's something that would be beneficial to at least consider. So if we want to, I don't know if that's a consensus item, but I just
Well,
wanted to voice that
I think that we
consideration.
can make positions,
Okay.
individual positions known, and as the process unfolds, there'll be a chance to discuss it more broadly, but at least the finance director and the city manager would have the knowledge to gather the data for that discussion.
Yeah, and the budget you see today is going to shift as we get more secure numbers from some of our vendors and from the state and all that kind of stuff. And so these numbers will shift as we perfect the budget as it goes forward and becomes a little bit more concrete. And so if that's the pleasure of the council, we can adjust figures and see how we can, make it happen,
Okay.
if that's your desire.
Thank you. That's my comments.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Thank you. First hearing that you were considering this increase up to 3.5, which they tell us is a 26% increase over the rollback rate, I was a little shocked. I know that in agreement, like Councilmember Papalardo said, a lot of this is infrastructure. A lot of this is really necessary. This is our fire department. This is our legal services. This is not a swimming pool. Even though some people in the community might like a swimming pool, that really is kind of a slush fund type of item. And as much as I am still going to go through the budget, line item by item, I can see where the majority of this increase is for necessities in infrastructure, and also the decrease, we're not going to be getting ARPA funds, which really had boosted our budget. So when we look here at the revenues and over the last few years, even with a tax increase, we are going to have less overall revenues as a city this year. Also, like you mentioned, we're kind of doing this in advance of the development. A lot of people get mad when cities and counties and states allow development and then public services suffer. So here we're looking at the numbers for a fire department and law enforcement, and we're trying to keep up and stay ahead of the development. So I would say if citizens really have some pushback on these tax rates, then tell us where to cut it from. Because I don't want to cut our fire services and not commit to this. I believe that we were somewhat putting ourselves in danger with some of our thin spread public services for that. And it's important for us to go ahead and get it done. If we could come back down maybe a little bit, I'm trying to look at the numbers where 3.3 or 3.4 might make it with that partial 8 months that we're doing for the fire services. So I'm not sure if we have to go all the way up to 3.5, but again, echoing what Councilmember Sell said, we're setting the cap here, and we can discuss bringing it a bit lower if we're able to go through and prioritize some of our projects. And so that's how I'm feeling tonight. Thank you.
If I can just tell you a
Sure.
little story. We were at an event, and they were talking about infrastructure and how traffic patterns are so severe that a 2-lane road needed to be 4, maybe even 6 lanes. And it's only 2. And the cost of it is going up rapidly. Roads have doubled. And it's probably going to take another 6 to 8 years before they can even upgrade the road to be able to handle that. I won't disclose who or what or where, but that's, and I think Vice Mayor Butland was even at this particular meeting as well, and it was eye-opening that you got a government that wants to cut the millage, but yet they've got such a massive deficit in infrastructure that it just doesn't make business sense. And so I think we have proven over the years that when you make business decisions on what you need to do, you get a lot more accomplished. You get a lot more good planning, and you get a lot more accomplished just by, if you asked me 5 years ago, well, we would have 6 projects of this magnitude this fiscal year, I would say, But it's just some incredible team that we have here and making great decisions without having to borrow money. That's one of a great, tremendous accomplishment. And I think our residents appreciate the business approach, and they appreciate our honesty, because we have raised it before, we brought it down. We'll do it again. And so it's just, but when these roads are done and all the infrastructure is in place, they're going to appreciate that as well.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Thank you, Mayor. Echoing what everyone has said, and I agree that, this stuff needs to get done. And the increase in the millage rate is minuscule compared to go out and borrowing the money. Because if we had to borrow the money to do $700,000 in road resurfacing, it would cost us a lot more than the increase in the millage rate. So looking at that, and I was looking to see if you had that number in here, Carmen, and I'm surprised I don't see it, or maybe I'm blinded to it. On a $200,000 house, do we know what that number would be increased?
Yeah, that's,
I was trying to figure that
yeah,
out.
if you don't mind, I'm going to.
No, go ahead.
I'm going to skip
I'd rather
back
see
here.
it.
So a 2,000,
there it
a
is.
taxable value, 200,000. Now, you're probably talking a house that's 300,000, because the county usually appraises property about 80%, and then there's usually a $50,000 tax exemption. So for the taxable value, now our average taxable value house in DeBary now is at 187. That's the taxable value, not market value. And so, yeah, for a taxable value house at 200,000, it goes from
It's 115.
yeah, it's 150.
$115.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. I can't
My
calculate.
fingers were going real fast.
I just feel that that's not a lot asking for our residents for the services and things that they're going to get with that this year. And even in the more recent years, the fire station, they won't see that this year. But they'll see the road, the clearings, they'll see it next year, and they'll go, wow, that's nice to have that on that side of town. Insurance rates could drop because of having it there. And I think doing this increase and not borrowing money is an apples and orange thing. And I think that's what we have to make sure that we explain to people. We don't want to borrow money. We're able to get these grants. We're able to match. We're able to do all this now. Next year, we might not be able to do as much. Who knows where rates are going to be? And interest rates right now are very high to borrow money. And I don't think we should chance that by losing out on the opportunity to do what we need to do, because we're going to need to do this and go forward with it. So I'm okay with that. I agree with Jim on the merit. I think we need to look at that again. I mean, I'm very concerned that when we lose someone and they leave and they go somewhere else and say, oh, you need to come with us, come with me, and we'll do it together. And we're losing the talent that we've raised and grew here. So I'm all about retention. I deal with the staff a lot. I like talking with them. They stop me at Winn-Dixie, and, I think it's great, and I think we do really need to look and make sure we can give them a position where they don't want to go anywhere, regardless of what they're getting. So those are my comments. And the last, as far as merit goes, I think we need to look at the city manager as well and make sure he is within range. I know everyone else is getting increases, and I'm not sure where we left with that, but we'll talk about that at another day.
Okay. I do think that this is an extraordinary budget, that we're doing extraordinary things, and that to cover this, we do need a millage increase. And it's hard to say, you've got to move it up from this to this, because we've had such a long history of keeping it so low. But these are, 5 substantial projects that are on the slate for this year, which we have leveraged other sources of funding for, and we need to be able to move forward with them. Now, having said that, I do agree this is a ceiling, and I am comfortable with this as a ceiling. However, the difference between 3.5 and 3.4 is $300,000. And I have been through the budget line by line, and I have some suggestions about what we might do that would create the 300,000 and go with 3.4, for example. One such idea would be this development of the second fire station. And I do believe that the council, you brought data to the council not long ago that showed that we are way behind the industry measurements of fire stations and service per residence. We're something like, even with the second firehouse, the rule of thumb, we'd still be a little bit under it. But that means we're like, according to industry standards, we're half covered now. So this is something we need to step up and take care of. You know, public safety is our highest responsibility in this role. But in doing the station, when we talk about the $300,000 to finish outfitting the fire truck, to me that's a one-off. That's not a regular operating cost. I do not ever want to touch our reserves for operating costs, but our reserves are at a healthy level. They are stable and they're at a healthy level. Do we want to route them? No. But $300,000 in the scope of our reserves is not that great for a single item like outfitting the fire truck, which we never expect to do for more than a decade. This is one idea of how we could find $300,000 to make it 3.4, and that would not even be at odds with your idea of a $30,000 or $40,000 thing. There is a $200,000 for the furniture for the fire station. Again, I don't see that as a routine operating expense. This is a brand new facility. I would not be against, these things I think we could look at in the scheme of the fact that we have built reserves to a healthy level and they need to stay healthy because we have some years coming at us after the next 5 years. The depreciation rate on the assets at the power plants will reduce our revenue from power plants. And that's a substantial part of our budget. So we have to be thinking way down the road. But this variation in the scheme of our overall budget is not that great. And so it's that kind of a juggle of what is the most responsible, what gets us to where we need to be, that we can discuss as we move forward in this process. And you are right, Councilmember Sell, this is the ceiling. And we can bring all creative minds to bear to what the final number should be. Now, I've made a couple of suggestions, but what if we find out that the fire contract comes in massively above what we expect? We might need some flexibility. I'm not saying that's my final position, but I am just putting it out there that to me we are voting tonight on a ceiling. And I do see we can put some creative thought to this very well constructed budget. Thank you, Liz and Carmen. But we can bring a different perspective to certain small elements like that might change what we need to do for millage. So those are my comments.
Mayor, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Can I expand on that long-term?
Yes.
vision? I've had this discussion with many of you, the long-term vision of DeBerry. We're 5 years from being totally built out, at which time, growth in DeBerry will level off.
Right.
And our revenues will level off. And trying to continue to handle whatever inflation occurs any other time will put extreme pressure on our ad valorem. Because your growth, your commercial is all in. It's all done. The revenues are there. And the depreciation from the power plants will continue to come down. And it will come down continuously until such time they retool their turbines again, where the market value of the tangible personal property will go back up again. And so you have to keep that long-range vision. I always say that, yeah, the reserves are great now, but 5 years from now, they still need to be great. Because this government, 5 years from now, is going to have some pressures on, okay, the revenues are going to be stagnant, but the costs will continue to still rise to do business here. So you have to keep that in mind for really long-term, because, I really want to expound on that. Not many cities get to max. Other cities annex things in to continue growth. DeLand has annexed a lot of property in to continue their particular growth. We don't have that luxury. We're landlocked, unless we go to Orange City and ask them for property, or Deltona. But we're pretty much landlocked. And so it puts us in a financial position that we have to look long-term as well to make sure, because we don't want to end up 5 years from now going, oops, we're in a pickle. And so just want to make sure that everybody takes a look at a business approach long-term, 5 to 10 years, that we also got to preserve that as well.
And I will say that this council, by holding steady and not using debt for these current initiatives, is positioning the city for the years that come after us. Because at the end of '26, when I will say goodbye, and perhaps some others will say goodbye, we will owe less than $1 million as a city. And that $1 million will be paid off within 3 years. And so this city, provided that no new debt is taken out, this city, we will leave this group of people, as we finish out our terms, whatever length they are, we will leave this city debt-free. We didn't strike the debt, we needed the debt. The people who struck the debt were doing the right thing. We recast some of it. It looks like a brilliant idea in retrospect, as it was executed. But we haven't gone to that market to cover our needs. And so we will basically, in our terms, we will zero out debt in this city. So as we reach some of this period of time when we're built out, when we may have depreciated assets in our power plants that don't bring in as much money, we also will have removed debt service from the equation. So I feel very good about the stewardship of the 5 of us sitting here, and the city manager and the finance department and our staff in general. I believe we will have been good stewards for this period of time.
Your decision to refinance that debt, just to put a little bit of perspective, your decision to refinance that debt in early 2022.
I'm pretty proud of it, Carmen.
We got 1.4% interest rate. And
I was
we did it at
determined
the
that we
right
not
time.
get close to June of 2023 balloon, so we're going to do it at least a year ahead of time. It looks pretty brilliant in retrospect.
And unfortunately, there's a few cities right now that are putting on the referendum to borrow a significant amount of money in this market. And that could be as high as maybe 7, 8 to 9%. So these are the business decisions that we make, and that's why we're that successful. We don't put ourselves in that position.
Okay, if there's not further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
William Sell.
Oh, William. Councilmember Sell.
Contrary to popular belief, I don't always say what I think when I'm here, which is crazy unusual. But when Carmen was bragging about directors and staff still below Volusia County and city average, we have employees here, and I feel so creepy about that. You know, it's like,
But we can't discuss this outside of the public forum.
yeah, we may have very few employees, but our employees are our heartbeat. We have
That's
great
what I keep
employees.
saying.
We do, but I'm just saying, the way our laws are structured, we can't discuss this as a group
No, I get it.
outside of the public.
But to what Jim mentioned,
Yes.
I'm a fan. So.
Okay.
Yep.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-05, adopting proposed millage rate deemed appropriate and setting the tentative budget hearing date, time, and place. Do I need to specify all of that?
3.5, wasn't it?
Do I need to put all that in?
You need
3.5
3.5 in it.
The 3.5 and the date of September,
4/24 at 6:30.
And that-
September 4th, 24, 6:30. Here.
Yeah, and we already read into the record the
Yes.
percentage of increase of
3.5. But it could have been amended by the council. That's why we need that
And
in
I
the
think there
motion.
was a statement as well that the proposed ad valorem millage rate to be levied is more than the computer rollback rate by 2.7744, or 26.15%.
Do I have to say that
Yes.
too?
It's
said
just
it.
been announced, so.
It's been announced as part of the motion.
It was the motion, right?
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. The next item on our agenda is the city manager is requesting the city council adopt resolution number 2024-06 to set the solid waste non-ad valorem assessment for fiscal year 2024 to 2025 at $255 per residential unit. City Attorney, would you read resolution number 2024-06?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution number 2024-06, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting a non-ad valorem assessment rule for solid waste collection and disposal, specifying the unit of measurement for the assessment, specifying the amount of the assessment, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, on the solid waste, we're asking, recommending that there be a $5 increase. As always with Waste Pro, there's a CPI factor. That CPI factor is up 3.25%, which is the max. And the fuel is down 1.83% from last year. You will see that in here, and one of our primary focuses, obviously, we're not only do you pay for collection, but you also pay for all the dumping and the recycling. And how much is dumped and recycled fluctuates depending on how much is picked up and how much is actually dumped. So we keep a reserve in this account. As you can see there, last year was 531,000, I believe, right off the top of my head. I've looked at these so many times. And then we're recommending 617,000 in reserves. One of the big things that we have to make sure we understand is that folks don't pay their taxes until November and December, and some don't even pay them until March. We don't get all the money until January from the tax collector, so we have to keep a reserve to pay the October bill, the November bill, and December bill. And they're about $190,000 per month is what we had estimated, not including the fluctuations in the tonnage, whatever is being brought to the dump or done recycling. So we obviously take a conservative approach and make sure we have enough reserves in there. It's debatable on exactly how much. We just do increments of we can propose $2.37 we could do, but we just did $5. The other thing you have to consider too is Waste Pro's contract. It's up in December 2025. It's the end of a 7-year contract, but there is a 7-year option available in the contract. Some of the RFP requirements in some of these other cities, the garbage collection is up 30 to 40%. So we anticipate if we do go out for an RFP, that we're going to see the same thing, 30 to 40%. It's just labor costs for garbage collections have just gone out at the roof to maintain their employees. So our strategy right now is that after the first of the year, we've already kind of met with Waste Pro already. Is after the first year, starting negotiations and see how that goes in the first 3 or 4 months, see what their initial costs are going to be. You can anticipate that there's going to be a CPI and there's going to be a maximum, and also it's going to be based upon fuel. That's normal industry standard. How those negotiation goes and what the starting point of the costs are. I can tell you our current contract has saved our residents money because as fast as they're going up, Delance went up almost 40%. And so we'll see how that goes. If we have to go out for RFP later on in the year, if the negotiations don't go well, they'll go up significantly. And then there's a change if Waste Pro doesn't win the contract, if somebody else wins, like Waste Management or GFL or whoever, then we'll have to deal with the change in services in December, January, if that occurs. So that's what's coming forward 18 months from now, and that we'll have to deal with that when it comes. And so we're recommending going from 250 to 255. It's a $5 increase. I know we're also increasing the ad valorem, but again, I'll say this very honestly. The rate next year or the year after is going to go up significantly. And so whatever you raise it now, it's going to be not included in the rates in the future. So, but that's what we're proposing, $250 going to $255.
Okay. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
I remember when they came here asking for an increase and we held all the cards at the time. We're not going to be holding those cards come 2025. So I'm definitely expecting an increase. So, but it is good that we had that contract. So,
Councilmember Papalardo?
No comments.
Councilmember Stevenson?
I would agree. I remember the negotiations for this current 7-year contract and the stability of the cost over 7 years being the main reason why the council at that time chose a 7-year contract. So yeah, $5 increase, it is what it is. We're basically just passing the cost through. And hopefully we can get some good negotiations and not have too large of an increase considering our neighboring cities are seeing an increase already.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Not to belabor exactly what everyone's been saying. It is something that, you know, if you want to buy eggs, you're going to pay the price of eggs. I mean, if you want your garbage picked up, you're going to pay the price of garbage pickup. It's just part of the cost of living today. So I'm okay with this small one. I'm nervous about next year, but this is okay.
And I don't have anything further to add. If there's
Okay.
no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-06 to set the solid waste non-ad valorem assessment from fiscal year 2024-25 to $255 per residential unit.
Second?
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
yes.
And I'm a yes. We're moving on to new business agenda item number 4. The city manager is requesting the city council adopt resolution number 2024-07 to set the stormwater non-ad valorem assessment for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. City Attorney, would you read resolution number 2024-07?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution number 2024-07, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting a non-ad valorem assessment role for the stormwater utility services, facilities, and programs, specifying the unit of measurement for the assessment, specifying the amount of the assessment, and providing for an effective date.
City manager?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to expound a little bit on stormwater. The rates, we recommend the rates stay the same. But I do want to expound a little bit because it continues to be an issue with the DeBary Plantation Community Association. It comes up because the stormwater fee that is associated with that, folks don't understand where it goes. It has nothing to do with private stormwater systems or public stormwater systems in individual subdivisions. The vast majority of the money that's collected in the stormwater fund goes towards our emergency stormwater management system. And it serves majority of the people that live on public roads. Our ordinance and our resolution establishes the rate back in 2005, when we had a lot of flooding in 2004. And so that was the beginning of starting of those particular rates. So our ordinance created the stormwater fee, and then the resolution established the actual fee itself. And none of that fee is associated with actual ownership of stormwater systems. And so from there, as you can see, from 2005, 2006, the emergency stormwater management system has been extremely successful. We only had one house flood in 2022 with Hurricane Ian. A lot of folks have adopted our philosophies. We have become the model stormwater city in all of Volusia County. Folks are, and when we joke, and some cities have taken up our joke, is that if you want to resolve your flooding,
Get a
buy a
burrow
burrow pit. And Orange City sure did, bought a burrow pit, and some other cities are buying land up to possibly create burrow pits to put these waters in, because it's a great filter that cleans the water before it goes to the aquifer or end up maybe going to the river. But the mass majority of this stormwater fee goes towards the emergency management stormwater system. It serves about 90% of the people that live on public streets. The $80 for private folks are because they use those public streets. You see all these lakes here in DeBary. Our emergency water management system is independent from any individual stormwater system in any subdivision. We manage the levels of these lakes, whether it's the lake in front of DeBary Golf and Country Club, Quail Lake, No Name Lake. We're starting a project, as you see here, at James Pond, to manage the level of that lake so all the homes in that area doesn't flood. Half of Glen Abbey, their groundwater flows right into James Pond. And so we manage that level of the lake. We have about 20 lakes in DeBary, and we manage all those levels of those lakes. And it's not tied to the Woodbound stormwater system. It's not tied to the Glen Abbey stormwater system, DeBary Plantation stormwater system. All those waters flow into these particular lakes and water bodies. And then we draw it out of those water bodies to make sure that nobody floods. And that's a $32 million system that we have built over the last 20 years, right? Almost 20 years. And so folks get confused that, okay, that we pay the stormwater fee, you've got to take care of my stormwater system, and that's not the case. And it's come to light in some of these discussions with the DeBary Plantation Community Association. And so the Stormwater Fund program is very specific. Our employees are part of the stormwater program. And so 30% of the revenues coming from this stormwater system goes for salaries and benefits. And some folks think, well, we have this big, gigantic crew. We only got 5 maintenance workers in our stormwater system. The other 40% is debt service. The mayor talked about debt service. We pay about $700,000 a year in debt service. That's principal and interest. And yeah, not much interest, but it's still principal, and we're paying down that debt. But 40%, so 70% right off the top of the stormwater program goes for the essential required costs for personnel and for debt. It was a good decision back in 2006 and 2007 to borrow that $10 million. They also got some FEMA grants as well. But again, $32 million to build this system. And it proved itself in 2022. So the remaining 30%, where does that go? Our revenues are about $1.8 million. Where does that go? So you're talking about $600,000 a year. And so this year, we replaced the 2 pumps at DeBary Plantation. That was a little over $150,000, $160,000 for those 2 new pumps. They were 15 years old, and now it's operating at peak performance. We replaced the pump at Quail Lake, and that was about $15,000. And then we also did some repairs at Bill Keller Park, pulling the water out of Lake Charles. And so all those replacements and maintenance that occurs on that system, that's where a lot of that money goes. James Pond comes out of that extra 30% that's left over. James Pond, just by itself, as you recall, is $900,000 to do that particular project. And so we do have reserve in there, but it is, again, to manage and maintain most of it, our emergency management stormwater system, and to enhance it. James Pond is an enhancement to the emergency management stormwater system. And so, yes, there are 23 small projects around that we are the operation and maintenance entity, that we got areas in DeBerry that have absolutely no stormwater infrastructure whatsoever. And so they still pay the $160 faithfully every single year. And so those are some of the projects, and they're smaller, but those are some of the projects we're going to try to capture, get some grants for, and try to capture here in the next few years. And so this is what the stormwater fee is for, and I know I expounded on it, didn't need to, but I want to be able to explain to folks what the stormwater fees are, why the rates are what they are, and who they benefit. But none of it is tied to a specific individual subdivision and individual subdivision stormwater system. It manages the levels of the lakes, and as you can see by this map, all those maps are interconnected, all those lakes are interconnected, and we move water from the northern part all the way down to the Burrow Pit in southwest DeBerry, and then the waters in the central and east eventually move into Lake Monroe. And it is a choreographed type of system where it's well planned. It works extremely well, and it gets the water where it needs to go. And it really comes from all these particular lakes and not anybody's individual stormwater system. Does that make sense? So with that, we recommend the rate to stay the same. We think it's a fair rate, and it will help us continue to move forward and accomplish some of these small projects as we get the funding available.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
Not this time.
Councilmember Papalardo, questions?
First, I just want to reflect that I'm glad that we're maintaining this rate, having brought it down a handful of years ago. That's very promising. I've begrudgingly accepted the rate differential. I still think about what the future of stormwater fund looks like. I don't know that this is a permanent solution when we get to that point. This is not time for that conversation, but I think about this often. Thank you for the explanation now. It's satisfying. Thank you.
If you overlay the emergency stormwater management system with that map I showed you with the green and blue, you can see that all of it lays in the public sector, so in the public street sector.
Understood. Thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson.
I'm glad we're keeping the rate the same. And again, to reflect on the good decision of refinancing that debt and the breakdown of where these costs, as well as the explanation about the lakes and the overall system. That was clarifying a lot of points for me as well, so thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
I'm looking for the day that James Pond is no longer on our list of things to do. But it's good to see that we're getting rid of some of these projects and how they're funded and keeping the rate the same. I'm very happy with. I have no problem with that. Thank you.
I have no comment except to add, in addition to what the city manager said about who pays the $160, who pays the $80, the $80 also applies to undeveloped parcels, which really have, no people on them. I pay it on a vacant piece of land that I have. And so that's not like there's some direct service for people that are there. It's an undeveloped parcel. It is on a public road, but it also enjoys the $80 because there's really nothing going on there for that parcel, other than to have accessibility from non-flooded city streets. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-07, setting the stormwater non-ad valorem assessment for the fiscal year 2024-2025 at the $160 and $80 rate.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Agenda item number 5, the city manager is requesting the city council adopt resolution number 2024-08 to set the street lighting district's non-ad valorem assessments for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. City Attorney, would you read resolution number 2024-08?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution number 2024-08, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting a special service district service charge assessment role for street lighting districts for fiscal year 2024 through 2025 and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, the non-ad valorem, and Mayor and Council, the non-ad valorem assessment for street lighting districts are based solely on power bills, and we don't control the rates and the usage and everything else. This year, just like last year, we have two street lighting districts that their power bills are going up, and we want to make sure that we cover those. And so with that, we recommend approval of, Resolution 2024-08 with these two, keeping everybody same except the two that are highlighted in yellow there, DeBary Woods and Woodlands at Glen Abbey.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell?
Nothing.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
This is just another pass-through cost, no questions.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
No questions, thank you.
And I have none as well, so I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2024-08 to set the street lighting district's non-ad valorem assessment for fiscal year 24-25.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Agenda item number 6, the city manager is requesting the city council adopt resolution number 2024-09 to set the Orlandia Heights Neighborhood Improvement District non-ad valorem assessment for fiscal year 2024 to 2025 at $300 per parcel.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry, I would like the city attorney to read the resolution
My bad.
number 2024-09.
Resolution number 2024-09, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting a non-ad valorem assessment role for the Orlandia Heights Special Neighborhood Improvement District, specifying the unit of measurement for the assessment and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The Orlandia Heights Neighborhood Improvement District was passed a long time ago. They have a board of directors that we appoint. They've adopted their budget for fiscal year 24-25 to be exactly the same as last year. And so with that, Mayor and Council, I recommend, we recommend approval of the Orlandia Heights Improvement District's budget for 24-25.
City Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, any comment?
No comment.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No comments.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
No,
I have no questions as well, so I would entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2024-09, setting the Orlandia Heights Neighborhood Improvement District non-ad valorem assessment for fiscal year 2024-2025 at $300 per parcel.
Second.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Agenda item number 7, the staff is requesting the city council approve Kimley Horn additional services number 3 to individual project order number 11, proposal to the Benson Junction Road reconstruction design and permitting contract in the amount of $309,000, $321.50. Thank you for your patience in waiting for this item.
Of course, no worries. Richard Villasenor, city engineer. Good evening, everyone. The need for this proposal is to account for project scope changes and continue workflow to meet the DOT's local agency program scheduling. In consideration is, unfortunately, negotiations failed for acquiring additional property where the project stormwater management pond was slated to go. Other alternatives to look at other adjacent properties required additional time and cost for relocating existing businesses, so that also was not an option. The additional scope area generally includes extending the stormwater system north along Robertson Lane, From there, we are looking to do a stormwater pump station, another one, and then pump to our borrow pit on the west side. The new proposed pump station offers better direct control of the existing floodplain and flooding issues in this area. This was also one of the areas that flooded the building at Sossman Plumbing. So this would be a more ideal solution. The project stormwater would be pumped to the city's borrow pit. Additional pollutant loading reduction credits may be claimed for offsetting existing contributions. This area is currently considered to have positive discharge to Lake Mullet. We are, through our St. John's Water Management District permits, getting credits for pollutant load reduction on our current emergency management system. So this could essentially, if we wanted to, also eventually claim those credits. Approval of this proposal will allow the immediate efforts for incorporation of the additional scope area into the design and permitting of the project. The current target month to provide 90% construction documents for the DOT review and approval is early February. That sounds far off, but just to do the data collection is 2 months from now. The cost of this proposal is $309,321.50 to be paid in total with remaining ARPA funds already received by the city. The recommendation is that the City Council approve the Keemley-Horn Amendment Number 3 proposal to the Benson Junction Road Reconstruction Design and Permitting Contract in the amount of $309,321.50 and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement. The implementation will be immediate. Keemley-Horn will begin scheduling and coordinating the additional work efforts to gather that. And I will answer any questions.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, any questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I have a lot of questions, probably for the property owner of that parcel, because I'm just wondering, anyway, not important.
Well, just to expound on that, I mean, Mr. Arterman was involved a little bit because we went from option 1 to option 2, and option 2 wasn't any better than option 1. By the time you go through what they thought the price was for the property, then the eminent domain, and then and everything else on top of that. As I maybe have told many of you, if you're looking for $500,000 for that little strip of property, and then another $600,000 or $700,000 to build the retention pond, you might as well build a pumping system. And we already have the Borough Pit right there. And we have the right-of-way behind the Sossman Plumbing all the way to Shell Road, and then we'll seek a Duke easement to get to the Borough Pit. What it does also do, it serves this whole area. And if we do have any issues around Main Street or anything else, we can move the water to Benson Junction Road that will eventually go into the pumping system and actually serve this whole entire area and relieve the area, that's right now this water goes to Mullet Lake that's across the street. So it goes to a DOT retention pond and then to Mullet Lake across the street. So this can be seen as really a long-term benefit. Sossman Plumbing flooded during Hurricane Ian. The wetlands there overflow because of the water that comes down off the hill, and it goes right into the Moose Lodge and right into Sossman Plumbing. And so we are seeking some FEMA grants for mitigation to help pay for all that. And so it is we love the federal government's processes for comment purposes, but we are seeking, because it is hurricane related, that we are seeking some grants in that regard. So we're conscious of money. We're trying to do that, but and it may be a blessing in disguise that they didn't want to sell the property, and our option 2 wasn't there either. Blessing in disguise that maybe we found the best solution by going through this particular process, and ultimately will serve the city for a long, long time.
Thank you for some of that background. I agree with
Kurt's nodding his head up and down.
I just can't imagine that parcel conforming for much purpose.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
It was kind of fun because Carmen started out with a complicated deal, went to a different complicated deal, and in Well, we won't get all the details, but bottom line, I think he's right. It just worked out fortunately. I think this really is probably the best
Right.
best option we could come up with, and the most cost-effective.
Very
Right.
good, thank you.
Councilmember Stevenson.
I'm glad to hear you say that you will also be seeking grants for this, for the next stage when we actually have to build it. And also that the new location actually seems to serve the bigger picture and the bigger area down there. So I'm good with this plan.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Nothing further.
And I have nothing further, so I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve Kimley Horn Additional Services Number 3 to Individual Process Order Number 11, proposal to the Benson Junction Road Reconstruction Design and Permitting Contract in the amount of $309,321.50.
Second.
And have the city
And
manager.
have the city manager to execute
Execute the agreement.
the agreement.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butler?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And if you need the 50 cents, I can float it. No, the 50 cents on there is just, it seems to me that that's a really fine-tuned amount. But if we wanted an even dollar, I'll pick up the 50 cents. That's a
It
joke.
was 57 cents.
57, we rolled it down, yes. We're moving on to member reports and communications. Councilmember Sell, anything to report?
Well, we did have that holiday, July 4th, where everything went off perfectly. I think everyone had a good time. Looked like a record crowd. Want to thank city staff, of course, everyone who was involved. Grace Baptist Church, I think the kids had fun. I think we had fun. Excellent night. That's all I got.
Councilmember Papalardo?
I also got to attend Freedom Fest. Thank you for singing happy birthday to me on stage.
You do it every year. I don't,
It's a tradition.
It's the vice mayor.
no, I mean, you have the birthday every year
yeah,
on the 4th of July.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't know why I decided to do that. I attended DeBerry Plantation Community Association Stormwater meeting last night. I'm pleased with the change in tone from both sides. I'm hoping for further agreeableness, and I'm trying to talk with the board to coordinate some possible discussions in the future. There are certain items that give me pause that I have expressed that I'm not ready to broker certain conversations without other things being met, and I'm hoping we find amicable resolve very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes, I also had a good time at our Freedom Fest. I think it went off without a hitch. I know some people were worried about the rain, but the fireworks were fine, and the crowd was very pleasant and enjoyable. Had a great time.
And Vice Mayor Butler?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to reiterate, July 4th, it was
Yeah.
wonderful. I anticipated the fireworks so much that I was getting bored of the laser show, but that's just me. I was constantly thinking it was over. I'm like, okay, fireworks and more laser show. So we'll have to rethink that next year. I also attended the History Harvest here at City Hall, where people brought in so much
amazing.
history materials and things they've had 30, 40 years, albums and big pictures, I mean, poster-sized pictures in frames. And it was absolutely amazing to see what people were willing to share with us as the city. And of course, the college kids were great. It was just an awesome thing. So that was really great to participate in. I also had a Volusia League of Cities board meeting, which we're planning our dinner next week, those that can go. And I just wanted to say happy belated birthday to Carmen yesterday. And Mayor and William Sell both have birthdays coming up, so happy birthday, and I can sing for you if you want.
I think we'll pass.
We can pass on that. Sorry, Jim, you get the
Yes.
privilege.
I echo all the comments about July the 4th. I thought that it was a wonderful community celebration with a great turnout and that it went very smoothly. The History Harvest was a really amazing event. It's hard to even describe it if you weren't here. The two reporters that were here, one from the print medium, from Daytona Beach News Journal, and the one from the Channel 6, from their completed project, from their completed reports, you would not know it, but they spent hours here. They were so enthralled with it. The TV reporter, I knew that he would never, ever get use of all of the footage that he taped. But he had probably a solid hour between a long interview with Tom Pierce, substantial interview with me, with a bunch of other people here. And he stayed because he was so caught up in the moment. Ditto, the print reporter, she spent most of the morning here. She spent hours here. And she ended up with a very, I thought, well-written piece. But the amount of memorabilia that we had and the number of our long-standing residents who came to share was just amazing. The wait for the in-person video interviews with the public history department students, we had to sort of accelerate it and try to double up at some point so that people who had to leave would get heard. And the head of the unit who was here, Dr., what's his last name? I'm drawing a blank. He said that the amount of enthusiasm and this kind of response to an event was just not something that they had seen. They've done some other kinds of history harvests, but he was truly impressed. They took a lot of the things that were brought, we got permission to take them to UCF so that their state-of-the-art large scanner could accommodate these large format pieces. And there was a lot of reminiscing that went on with the people who came. Some people knew each other peripherally many years ago, and they got to visit and remember things that they both did. It was just an amazing day. I was here probably, 4 out of the 5 hours or something. It was truly an amazing event. And I think it really gives a leg up on our efforts to gather and preserve the history of our city, because this will all be available in a searchable kind of database. Totally different subject. Jumping back to the budget, I want to introduce an idea for you to think about before our next budget discussions, and it's very, very minor. In our budget, there's a line item that says that we anticipate revenues of $300 from our pet license activities. In a city of 23,000 residents, I will bet you there are more than 60 pets. I will bet you some of us sitting up here don't have our pets registered. I don't think it really is important to us. I would suggest I don't see what we're getting from pet registration unless there's some requirement that I'm not aware of in our agreement with Orange City or something that requires us to have pet licenses. So my thought pattern is maybe we find out whatever resolution was passed to implement these, end it. I can't even see city staff time and printing of the forms being worth $300 a year. And I also don't think we want a massive campaign to get your pets registered if we can't show what the upside is of it. Just an idea. I want to say it here publicly because we can't talk about it outside of the public forum. Give it some thought. My ideas are not the be-all, end-all on this, but it is, and it's certainly not a major point of our budget, but it did bring home something that I had been thinking about for a while when I saw it, that it's a $300 budget item. So that's for your rumination and discussion later. City manager?
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Woo! City attorney, can you best that?
Birthday.
Pass.
Pass. Hearing nothing further, we stand adjourned.